Hey everyone, this is Bob here in the Nerve Center at the Wirefly building, and I have a review of a new and interesting phone. This is the Motorola Defy, which runs on the T-Mobile network. Now this is a 3G phone, not one of the new 4G phones that T-Mobile's coming out with. So this does T-Mobile's standard HSPA networking, not the HSPA Plus, which is the faster network that T-Mobile is calling 4G. So this is a 3G phone. But there are many interesting features about the Motorola Defy. Let's first go over some of the basics. It runs Android 2.1 and it has Adobe Flashlight 3, which means that it can show Flash content. I've used this phone extensively to show Flash content. It has a 3.7-inch LCD screen. Now get this, with a resolution of 480 by 854 pixels. That means the Motorola Defy is one of the very few cell phones that run Android that have the highest resolution of any Android phone. So most Android phones, most of the upper level of Android phones have a resolution of 480 by 800. This is 480 by 854. So this shares that higher resolution with its cousin, the Motorola Bravo, which is also 480 by 854. The Motorola Bravo runs on AT&T. And they have many features that are the same, but as you can see, they're a little bit different shape. I'm going to set this one aside for just a moment because I want to talk about the size of the Motorola Defy. You can see what its size is compared to a credit card. It is very similar in size to a credit card. It's a little bit wider and a little taller. Of course, it's somewhat thicker than a credit card. And now here's where I want to compare it to a Samsung Fascinate that runs on Verizon. You can see the Fascinate is a slimmer phone, but the Fascinate is a much, much bigger phone. So I kind of like the Fascinate and think it's a pretty good size. And if you can live with the size of the Fascinate, imagine how well you could live with the size of the Motorola Defy. Okay, so the Motorola Defy has got some interesting physical features. It's very small considering that it has a 3.7-inch screen. Now, one of the very interesting things about the Motorola Defy is it is a ruggedized phone that is dust-proof and water-resistant. Now notice it has a little rubber plug here. This is the on-off switch on top of the phone, and it has a rubber plug. The rubber plug covers the 3.5 millimeter audio jack. So you have a rubber plug that you need to keep in place over the audio jack. On this side, we have a rubber plug that's covering the standard mini USB port, and again, the plug covers that. When you have those plugs covering the phone, Motorola says that this phone is water resistant. Now it's not waterproof. You can't throw it into a swimming pool and let it sit there for an hour and expect it to keep working. But if you get caught in a rain shower and you get some water on it, hey, no problem at all. In fact, take a look at this. With the Motorola Defy, you can even answer the phone in the shower. Well, as you can see, it'll definitely hold up. This is the very phone I had there in the shower. I've had absolutely no problems with it. It stayed there in the shower with me the whole time. This is the volume up-down rocker. And otherwise, there's not much in the way of penetrations on this. And there's a special back that requires a slider here to pop the back off. So when you have the slider, notice the back is curved and it has these curved reinforcements under it so that it keeps a very nice firm grip on the back when you latch it in place. So you have to latch that slider in place to hold the back in. So the back is also water resistant, and they call the phone dust proof. So we'll go back to our main menu here. They call the phone dust-proof, so if you need to use it in the desert and in dusty conditions, this is the phone for you. It has a 5-megapixel still image camera with a flash, and it can do only standard resolution videos. As far as the capabilities of the phone itself, inside it has an 800 megahertz processor, so a relatively speedy processor. I already mentioned it runs Android 2.1. It has 512 megabytes of RAM, 2 gigs of internal memory, and it comes with a 2 gig SD card that's also mounted internally. It can use up to a 32 gig SD card. Under the back cover is a 1,540 milliamp hour battery, one of the biggest batteries you can find in an Android cell phone. And it also has Motorola's Crystal Talk Plus technology, which means that it has built-in noise reduction for the phone, and it also has very punchy phone sound quality, and I can attest to its sound quality. I thought it was pretty darn good. So, about the only other thing that I want to talk about regarding the Motorola, well, of course you can see that it has Motorola's Moto Blur software on this, so it gives you a real assortment of widgets to put on the screen that allow you very fast and easy contact. Here's a message I'm getting from someone asking if I want to sell some of my guitars, and all over this, there's my weather widget for the Washington, D.C. area, which is where we're located. There are just plenty of widgets that it puts on screen. Now, some people like Moto Blur. Moto Blur has got some great features. If you go ahead and sign into Moto Blur, it will keep track of all your contacts, and you can have all that stuff automatically stored on Motorola's website. If you swap your phones or if you lose your phones, you can go to the Moto Blur site and you can turn that off. If you swap your phones, you can automatically download your contacts and all of your other information into your new phone as long as you're getting a new Motorola phone. So Moto Blur's got a lot of terrific features. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. Some people object to it. They think it's too in your face. Well, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. If you do want to use it, it's there for you to use. I am kind of mixed feelings about Moto Blur. Anyway, here's the only other thing that I'd like to show you. The Motorola Defy gets some pretty good quadrant speeds. Now, I enjoy the quadrant speed test that tests the speed of the processor and internal memory in the phone, and the Motorola Defy does pretty well in that regard. I'm going to go ahead and run a full benchmark test here on the quadrant processor test, and I'll come back to it when it's ready to end because it's pretty complicated and it takes a bunch of time. So I'll see you at the end of this test with the final score. Okay, the Motorola Defy is finishing up its quadrant test. This is the final of its 3D tests. It asks if I want to go ahead and benchmark it. And okay, as you can see, or maybe you can't, this said that the Motorola Defy scored a 1027 on this quadrant test. That's a pretty darn good score. I found that the Galaxy S phones from Samsung, of which the Fascinate is one, typically score around 900, and they're pretty good operating phones. They operate quite smoothly. The other phone that I had here, the Motorola Bravo, which runs on AT&T, it got a score of about 1100, so it's pretty much in tune with the Defy. It pretty much has all of the same hardware as the Defy, including the nice 480 by 854 LED screen. So anyway, that is a review of the Motorola Defy, which runs on the T-Mobile network. This is Bob here at Wirefly. I'm glad you stopped by to watch.